Welcome to 1234 Media Bio. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button at the end of the video if you really like it. You can also comment down below for any kind of feedback or suggestion regarding this video, and yes, please do share our video with friends and family. You are like gold, so finally please subscribe to our channel if you wanna do some wonder for our beautiful family, and also click the bell icon so that you may never miss an update from us.
Today we will learn about the human skeletal system. So the skeletal system is the framework of the body, consisting of bones and other connective tissues, which protects and supports the body tissues and internal organs. Let's see what consists of our skeletal system. First of all are bones. A bone is a rigid organ that constitutes part of the vertebrate skeleton in animals, which forms as the basic unit of the human skeleton. Next is cartilage. It is a tough, elastic, and flexible connective tissue. Finally are the ligaments. It is a connective tissue that helps in connecting to bones. We will study them in detail, so don't worry. Let's study about the human skeleton. The entire internal framework of the body is provided by the skeleton. The skeleton gives our body shape, the ability to walk on both of our feet, and balance the entire structure of our body. Our skeletal system consists of 206 bones. During birth, the number of bones in our body is about 270, but as we grow older, some of the bones fuses together. By the age of 21, each of our bones of the skeleton reaches their maximum density. Here's the diagram of the human skeleton. Let's label it. Skull, cervical vertebrae, rib cage, humerus, lumbar vertebrae, pubis, ulna, radius, phalanges, femur, fibula, tibia, and finally the phalanges of legs. Try to click a picture of this entire labeled diagram in your mind all throughout this video. Now let's look at the human skeleton anatomy. This skeletal system can be divided into the axial and appendicular systems. In an adult body, it is mainly composed of 206 individual bones, which are organized into two main divisions: axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. First of all, let's look at the axial skeleton. The axial skeleton runs along the body's central axis. Therefore it is called the central core of the human body. The axial skeleton is composed of 80 bones, and it consists of the following: skull bone. It includes 8 cranial bones, 14 facial bones, 6 auditory ossicles, and the hyoid bone. Next, the bone of the thoracic cage. It includes 25 bones of the thorax, which is a breastbone, and 24 ribs. Continuing. Next is the bone of the vertebral column. It is also a part of axial skeleton if you refer from the previous slide. It includes 24 vertebrae bones, the sacrum bone, and the coccyx bone. Okay, now it's time for the second division of the human skeleton, which is the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is composed of 126 bones, and it consists of the following: pelvic girdle, upper limbs, lower limbs, and the shoulder girdle or the pectoral girdle. Time to study the axial skeleton in detail. The axial skeleton is made up of 80 bones, and it constitutes the following regions: skull, hyoid, auditory ossicles, ribs, sternum, and the vertebral column. So the first is skull. The human skull consists of cranium and facial bones. The function of the cranium is to protect the brain. It is formed of 8 plate-shaped bones joined together at meeting points, called sutures. Along with cranium, the remaining 14 bones form the facial bones. Mandible is the only movable bone in the human skull. This is the diagram of a skull. Continuing. Hyoid. It is a U-shaped bone located in the anterior neck. It is an intermediary between the skull and postcranial skeleton. The hyoid bone aids tongue movement and swallowing. It has no articulation with other bones. Next, auditory ossicles. Auditory ossicles consisting of the malleus, incus, stapes are 3 bones in the middle ear that are the smallest bones in the human body, The functions of ossicles are to transmit sound from the air to the cochlea. Next, ribs. Ribs are the long curved bones which constitute the rib cage. The ribs consist of 24 bones in 12 pairs which form the protective cage of the thorax. The ribs protect the thoracic internal organs. They articulate posteriorly with the vertebral column and terminates anteriorly as cartilage. These posterior and anterior things are discussed in another video. Okay, here you can see the hyoid bone. Next, the auditory ossicles has got the malleus, incus, and stapes, in the red circle. Finally down there we got the rib cage. Continuing. Sternum. Sternum or the breastbone is a long bone placed at the central part of the chest. The sternum and ribs make up the rib cage. The sternum is attached to the first 7 ribs and also to the clavicle or collarbone. Finally is the vertebral column. The vertebral column is a set of approximately 33 bones, called vertebrae, which are separated by intervertebral discs. The vertebral column is divided into 5 categories. They are cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and the coccyx. This vertebral column is actually our backbone, and we will study it in detail. Before that, just have a look at the sternum. It's the breastbone which is gray in color. So the vertebral column is a set of approximately 33 bones, called vertebrae, which are separated by intervertebral discs. The vertebral column is divided into 5 categories. They are cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and the coccyx. The vertebral column is also numbered for our reference. Well, I'm telling you how are they numbered. This is the best picture of the vertebral column I found on Google. So the first 7 bones of the vertebral column are in the group of cervical vertebrae, and so they are numbered as C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, and finally the C7. The next 12 bones of the vertebral column is in the group of thoracic vertebrae. That's why they are numbered as T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, and finally the T12. Moving down, after the thoracic vertebrae, the next group of vertebrae is of the lumbar vertebrae. The 5 bones of this vertebrae are L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. The second last bone is sacrum, and the last bone of the vertebral column is coccyx. Please keep this diagram in mind as it's extremely important. So the first vertebral column is cervical vertebrae. The cervical is the most delicate and the thinnest bones of the vertebral column. The cervical vertebrae are formed of 7 vertebrae. The 7 cervical vertebrae are arranged along the length of the neck. They are named according to its position, from the skull to the chest. The superior C1 or first cervical. Next is thoracic vertebrae. It is placed at the mid-back of the human body. The main function is to hold the rib cage and to protect the heart and lungs. The 12 thoracic vertebrae are named T1 to T12. Thoracic vertebrae are the unique one other than the remaining vertebrae, as it supports the ribs. Next is the lumbar vertebrae. These are the largest in the vertebral column, and comprises of 5 vertebrae bones between the rib cage and pelvis. The lumbar vertebrae are named from L1 to L5. L1 is closest to the thoracic vertebrae whereas L5 is adjacent to the pelvis. The lumbar vertebrae functions as the load-bearing structure. Next, sacral vertebrae. The sacral vertebrae consist of 5 vertebrae bones which fuse together to form sacrum. The sacrum is a long wedge-shaped vertebra, at the inferior end of the spine. It is a very strong bone which supports the weight of the upper body, as it spread across the pelvis into the legs. Finally is the coccyx vertebrae. The coccyx vertebrae are formed by the fusion of 3 to 5 rudimentary bones, to form a small triangular bone at the bottom of the vertebral column. The coccyx vertebrae are also referred to as the tailbone. The coccyx serves as an attachment site for ligaments, tendons and muscles. The coccyx may be fractured when a person falls abruptly. Wow, it's now time to look at the appendicular skeleton, and I bet you will find it interesting. The appendicular skeleton is the part of the human skeletal system that supports the appendages. It consists of 186 bones, including the bones of the limbs, as well as supporting the pelvic and pectoral girdles. It is divided into 6 regions: the shoulder girdle, arms and forearms, hands, pelvis, thighs and legs, and feet and ankles. So the first one in discussion is shoulder girdle. The shoulder girdle or the pectoral girdle is a set of 4 bones, which connects to the arm on each side. The pectoral girdle is part of the appendicular skeleton, which are for the upper limbs. In human beings, the pectoral girdle consists of the scapula and the clavicle. Here's the diagram of the shoulder girdle. Arms and forearms. The arm and forearm are constituted of 6 bones. The large bones of the arm include the following. Humerus. The humerus runs from the shoulder socket and joins the radius and ulna at the elbow. Next is the radius. The radius is a forearm, which runs from the elbow to the thumb side of the wrist. Last is the ulna. Ulna, also a forearm, runs from the elbow to the pinky side of the elbow. Here's the diagram of the arm and forearm. The radius and ulna can also be seen here. Pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle is located in the lower part of the trunk. It a ring-like bony structure. The pelvic girdle consists of 2 bones known as sacrum and the coccyx. The pelvic girdle is formed of paired hip bones, each made up of ilium, ischium and pubis. It has got the following functions. It transfers the weight of the body from the axial skeleton to the appendicular components, especially during the movement. Provides attachment from a number of muscles and ligaments enabling movement. Here's the diagram of the pelvic girdle. Little bit of heart-shaped. Thighs and legs. The bones of the legs and thighs are part of the appendicular skeletal system, which supports the muscles of the lower limbs. These muscles help in walking, running, standing and jumping. These bones should be strong enough in order to support the body's weight. The femur or thigh bone is the largest and heaviest bone in the human body. At the proximal end of femur, there is a rounded prominence which is called as the head of the femur. The tibia and fibula are the 2 long bones in the lower leg. They are 2 separate bones but are closely linked at the knee and the ankle. The top of tibia connects to the knee joint and bottom connects to the ankle joint. Although tibia carries all the body weight, it needs the support of fibula. Here's the thigh and leg bones. Feet and ankles. The foot is a firm platform, which supports the weight of the body. It is formed of many bones such as the tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. Tarsals. These are a set of 8 irregular bones, situated proximally in the foot, in the ankle area. Metatarsals. A set of 5 bones, each one for a digit. These bones connect tarsals with the phalanges. Phalanges. Each toe has 3 phalanges, namely the proximal, intermediate, and distal. Now this ends the discussion of the appendicular skeleton. Feet and ankle, here you go. Now let's check out the other parts of skeletal system. Tendons. Tendons joint bones to skeletal muscles. They are made up of connective tissues. Ligaments. Ligaments join 2 bones together. They are also a type of connective tissue. Cartilage. Cartilage provides protection of bones at the joints, from wear and tear. They are firm, yet softer and flexible than bones. It is present in many parts of the body, for example ear, nose, ribs, bronchial tubes, etc. Now what is inside a bone? The inside of the bones are filled with a soft tissue, called bone marrow, or simply marrow. There are 2 types of bone marrows, red marrow, and yellow marrow. The red bone marrow produces new red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The yellow bone marrow stored fats and fatty acids. Well, time to discuss the functions of the skeletal system. First of all is support. The primary function of the skeletal system is to provide the solid framework, to support and safeguard the human body and its organs. This helps in maintaining the overall shape of the human body. Next, protection. The skeletal system also helps to protect our internal organs, and other delicate body organs, including the brain, heart, lungs and spinal cord, by acting as a buffer. Our cranium or skull protects our brain and eyes, the ribs protect our heart and lungs, and our vertebrae, that is the spine and backbones, protect our spinal cord. Next, movement. Bones provide the basic structure for muscles to attach themselves on each other, so that our bodies are able to move. Tendons are tough inelastic bands that attach our muscle to that particular bone. Next, storage. The bone matrix of the skeletal system is mainly involved in storing or preserving different types of essential minerals, which are required to facilitate growth and repair of the body cells and tissues. The cell matrix acts as our calcium bank, by storing and releasing calcium ions into the blood cell when required. The last function of the skeletal system is regulation of endocrine glands. The bone cells present within the skeletal system plays an important role in releasing the synthesized hormones from the respective endocrine glands for further requirement by the body for different metabolisms. Apart from these functions, the skeletal system also contributes to the regulation of blood sugar. We will now look at the key points to note. The femur is the largest and heaviest bone in the skeletal system. The stapes is the smallest bone in the human body, present in middle ear. The hyoid in throat is the only bone in the body that does not form a joint with any other bone, and it is a floating bone. At last, we will look at the diseases associated with the skeletal system. Osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a bone-related disease, in which the bone density is reduced and the risk of bone fracture increases. Paget's disease. It is a chronic bone disease, which causes the affected bones to large and misshapen. Finally, arthritis. It is the inflammation caused to the joints, causing difficulty and pain in movements, and limiting the same. So that's it. Thanks a million for watching this video, and doing a wonder for our beautiful family. I will again meet you in the next video. Till then, just subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to never miss the upcoming videos from 1234 Media Bio.